Hey everybody, what's going on? In today's video, we don't really have any decent earnings to look at. We do have more important economic data coming this week, so we'll take a look at that. We will be taking a look and see if Powell broke the market. Things got a little ugly there towards the close. So we'll take a closer look at all that, of course. We will take a look at some of the setups we're playing. And there were a couple of good setups I wanted to show you up until about an hour before the close, now they're not ready anymore. They're going to need more time. So hopefully, I'll be able to. Hopefully, those will repair themselves. I'll be able to show you those on the weekend video. But for now, I think we should wait and let things settle down before we start any new positions. By the way, make sure you smash that like button. We put a lot of work into these videos and it really helps us out. And if you're wondering who I am, my name is Kevin D, and I am here to help you make sense of all of this. All right, let's get into this here. We do these videos every week to keep our members up to date and on what's going on. And to highlight fresh opportunities. We have a really cool community of like-minded traders and investors. And members get to take part in live streams and mentor sessions, so check it out in the link below if you're interested, and come join us. We'd love to have you. Here's a quick disclaimer. Everything we do here is for educational purposes only. We do not provide investment advice, nor are we investment advisors. All trading investment decisions are your own and done at your own risk. All right, so yeah, as you can see, I mean, tomorrow morning there are earnings still, but I don't think any of these are really all that interesting. They don't tend to move markets, and they don't tend to move themselves all that much. So nothing really here that I see worth playing. But that could change, and if you read the morning newsletter, if any of these do end up in play, we'll definitely be putting it in the morning newsletter. Coming up the rest of the week. Well, let's start with today. FOMC rate announcement, 25 basis points, as we were expecting. They said another 25 basis points this year, and then 75 basis points of cuts next year, is their projections. And the market liked that at first. And everything was going great until Powell started talking. I kind of said that in the Discord, all Powell had to do, the only job he had today, was just to sort of be reassuring Grandpa. Come out, tell us everything's going to be okay, and that's all. And instead, I mean, it's almost like he wanted to play into the fear in some ways. He was anything but reassuring, in my opinion, and markets reacted negatively to that, as we'll see. So that's really unfortunate. But tomorrow we have unemployment claims. That could change the sentiment a little bit, although I would say right now the sentiment is quite negative. We also have new home sales tomorrow. And Friday before the open, we have flash manufacturing PMI and the flash services PMI, the Purchasing Managers Index. Those are important. So those can move markets too, and maybe between some of this data, it can sort of dig us out of this funk. We'll have to see. It's I would say that things are very indecisive and uncertain at the moment. So why don't we dig in here? We're going to look at some major indices. We'll quickly look at international markets. And we'll look at gold and oil basically, and we'll look at the major sectors. All right, here we go. So what do we've got? That's Apple. We want SPY right now. So here's the SPY. We're going to see a lot of ugly candles today, and this is one of the ugliest. As you can see, we were in a nice big up move here. Yesterday finished right under that trend line, right under a little bit of resistance there. Today, reached up through it, got right up near that former gap, and then pulled back hard. And most of this action was, after Powell started speaking. Actually, all of this action, all this red action from the high, was when Powell started speaking. And you can see we closed right on the low, very weakly. And I believe we're, looks like we're continuing down now. No, I think we've popped up a little bit. Here, let's take a look at an intraday chart and see what's going on in the after hours. Yeah, okay. We've popped up a tiny bit here in the after hours, but you can see just how ugly this got. Well, I guess this was just shortly before he started speaking, but anyway, that's what we're looking at. Really not at all a friendly close. Does not bode well for tomorrow. Okay, back to the daily charts here. We'll go to the Qs. Another big ugly red candle. Scary thing about this one, right? Reaches up towards resistance, just barely makes it through this pivot. Let's mark that pivot on there, make that a little clearer. You can see exactly where it is. So we had this pivot high here. We got through it, very bullish. And then, of course, we fell apart, and that becomes very bearish. And it's basically a bearish engulfing candle that we've got here now. Again, does not bode well, and I would not be surprised if tomorrow we're testing the lows, either of these two lows here, and the day after maybe coming in to test support right here in the 10-day and 21-day moving averages that come up here. It could get nasty over the next couple of days. Or somehow this manages to turn itself around overnight. It's really, like I said, it's really uncertain right now. Let's look at IWM. And we can see a big ugly red candle there as well. And remember, this is where all those regional banks are and small banks, and they kind of started to fall apart when Powell started speaking about banks specifically. And that's when we saw most of the red develop, he was asked a question about banks. And that's when it kind of fell apart. And that's when he really needed to be reassuring and was not. He was anything but at that time. Okay, let's move on and look at the VIX, the volatility index. Really nice hammer candle if you want, if you want to be bullish on volatility, you got to like the look of that candle. Right off, the 20, really important 20 level there. Right off of that, big bounce through the resistance of that former channel. And yeah, this looks like it's going higher tomorrow. Let's take a look at our yields. So yields are down, which is interesting. Bearish engulfing candle there. So this is good. This is a positive sign. They did bounce off the lows a little bit. But yeah, it is good to see these yields come down. And this is reflecting the fact that they said, or they are predicting, there will only be one more 25 basis point rate hike this year. Take a look at the dollar index. There was some good action in the dollar index for us. We want, as you know, we want to see the dollar come down because that is generally good for equities. However, this bounced later in the day. As you can see, same sort of action. When Powell started speaking about banks right in here, that's when the dollar started to bounce up off those lows. So interesting price action here, and sort of reaffirms that we could be seeing more downside here. Let's move back over to look at some of our commodities. Actually, we'll look at global indices or global ETFs. This is the all-world, including the S&P 500, or including U.S. stocks, sorry. And you can see really negative here the way it tagged the 50-day moving average and just completely fell apart. Let's look at EFA. Let's look at Europe. And this won't be as bad, of course, because Europe is closed by the time all this happened, but it's still a negative-looking candle. Emerging markets, ex-China. Another nasty looking candle, giant gravestone doji there, very bearish. And FXI was really strong earlier in the day. You can see that it gapped up, but that gave it up. It hit that 21-day moving average and gave it up. And look what happened the last time that came up and tagged the 21-day moving average. So that's a little bit scary for China. But, you know, China is its own world over there and is not necessarily going to react to negativity out of the U.S. for very long. Gold futures. So gold was strong on this report after pulling back for a couple of days. Let's see, silver. Silver held a lot of its strength today and moved higher. You can see we had a little 2-day consolidation and that moved higher. And I would say that gold is probably outperforming, silver is probably outperforming gold at this point in time, playing a little bit of catch up here. And copper has managed to hold on some of the gains that it made for the day. So that's that it held some of these gains is a positive sign. That pullback right off that 50-day moving average, though, was kind of bearish. Take a look at crude oil. This gave back a lot of its early gains. Really volatile and choppy, gappy action in here. Oil has no idea what to do, I think is what this is telling us. Nat gas was down quite a bit. And XLE, the energy ETF, was down quite a bit. Bearish engulfing candle there. We can expect to see more downside out of that. I would suspect we may have to come back down and test this support level here. Guess I can get rid of this gap here, can't I? We won't bother looking at the rest of those. TAN had a good day yesterday, but really good day yesterday, actually. Yeah, this gapped up quite a bit here. Why don't we get that gap in there, because I suspect that is going to come into play. So close to open. There we go. Yeah, almost. Oops, missed that, didn't I? Okay. It may find support at this gap. Tough call on that one right now. Let's look at consumer discretionary. Big bearish engulfing candle. Not good. XLI industrials. Big bearish engulfing candle. Really nasty candle here in the industrials. XLF financials. Hey, look, another giant red candle. KRE, regional banks. Yep, you got it. Oh, look, another one. Biotech. Ooh, that's really ugly. Okay, this is one of the ugliest ones so far. So biotech is kind of falling apart here, isn't it? We got any support coming up? I guess, yeah, maybe some support here around 72-ish in that area. Then again down here at around 66, but not looking pretty for biotech. XLRE, REITs fell apart, broke support. Big red candle. Gonna come in and test the support level just under 34 here. Staples, another defensive sector. Still holding in range, but you can see that nasty red candle. XLU, utilities. More red. Broke support. XLK, technology. This was, through most of the day, the leading sector. It gave up its lead late in the day to Staples, defensive. But you can see, not good. We broke out. Look at this. Beautiful breakout here. Beautiful breakout. Reaches up. Even gets almost up to that support level, resistance level up above, and then completely falls apart and gives it all back and some. Not good. That's just not bullish. XLC Communications reached up to resistance at that downtrend line and this horizontal resistance line. Tagged that, pulled all the way back, gave back all of its early gains plus some, looking like it's going to fill that gap in there. You guys can see this gap right here, right? There we go, halfway filled on that gap. Do we come back down now and test? This is kind of the breakout area from, a little 2-day bull flag. Maybe it will find support there. Maybe it will find support down at the 21 and 10-day moving averages just below there. Semiconductors. Now these have been doing quite well. As you can see, trying to break out the bottom of this channel, this upward channel that they've been in. But this is not good. Again, reach up, break out, and just give it all back plus some. Don't like to see that. You know, gravestone doji here, or shooting star, that they call this. Let's look at some of the FAANGs. Meta, same deal. Just giving a bunch back after trying to break out to new highs. Apple, this was one of our this is one of our plays, and this is a very negative bearish candle on Apple. We'll look at that in a little bit more detail in a sec. Amazon, maybe not as bad as some of the rest. I mean, it was only down 1.9%. You know, some of the FAANGs were down a lot worse than that. But, you know, still not looking pretty here. Definitely found some resistance in here. We'll get some of these resistance levels marked in a little tighter here for the weekend video. Netflix, oh, this is a big move down, almost 4% down. That's starting to look like a really nice looking bear flag on Netflix. If, of course, you're bearish. But here you go. I mean, there could be a play in here for the short sellers. You know, it's right on the verge of breaking down through that. You could even say that, you know, if you tighten your flag up to here, ignored the wick there, you could say it's broken down out of that bear flag today. And that would suggest, that could suggest a fairly large move down back into the 240 to 220 area. I don't know if I'm that bearish on Netflix, but it certainly looks like a test of this pivot right here at around 285 is in the cards for Netflix. Google. Come on, Google. Okay, reached up through resistance and failed. Common pattern we're seeing today, isn't it? Microsoft. Same deal. Well, didn't get quite up to a new high there, but I mean, that's a really nice looking gravestone doji. Unfortunately, that's quite a bullish candle. It is still kind of hanging around at this former resistance, now support area. So that's one reason to be hopeful. How did Tesla do today? So Tesla reached up, tried to, did very briefly, you know, continue, put in some continuation on yesterday's really nice move, but then pulled back and gave back a bunch of it. So as you can see, that late day, I mean, this all happened, all this negativity happened in the last hour, hour and a half of the day. So, you know, it could reverse just as quickly, but I mean, all these charts just look broken. They all look like they just need time now to, at best, go sideways and consolidate for a little bit, and then, you know, sort of regain their composure and then move out to hopefully to newer highs. Let's look at some of the setups and that we're playing, or at least that I'm playing, and that we have talked about here a lot. One of those is HIMS. Still in this. Sold a bunch of my, had sold a bunch of my position up here. Another little piece as it gapped down right around here. But now as we've pulled right back and bounced basically at the line in the sand and had a couple of really nice days. And I've chopped around a little bit, basically building a bull flag here, right? I don't know if that, that should be fairly clear to everybody, but let's draw this in a little nicer. If we ignore, what day would this have been? Tuesday or Monday? We had a nice reversal there off these moving averages on Monday. So I think we can sort of ignore that day for the purposes of our bull flag and just call it's a basically straight, tight across, fairly tight consolidation. This kind of wants me to add back the piece that I've sold up here. If we can get back into this former gap area, this pink zone. I like the look of this. This is fairly well behaved. Of course, we did have a pullback today. It was down about 3.5%. That's not bad, considering the ATR on this stock is 7%. That we were only down 3.5%, I think is fine, right? That's a fairly tight range day. So yeah, I think worth keeping an eye on. If you did exit some on the way down here, you might want to consider adding back in. But this is not investment advice, of course. This is just for learning or educational purposes only, and letting you know what I intend to do. Let's take a look at AMD. We've got a trade going there too, quite a nice one. If you bought the breakout here, well, even better. I mean, if you had really been on the ball and bought down in here, you're I'm sure still in this and resting easy here. If you bought in here, you probably have hopefully taken some off up in here. I did. I'm down to half the original position now, and was really liking the price action earlier today, of course. It pulled back. It did manage to hold some of those gains, though, unlike a lot of the ETFs and a lot of the stocks we've looked at. So that is hopeful, but you can see where my stop is on this. Here's my alert level anyway. My stop is basically a close below this level, which is why I'm still in, actually. It was looking kind of sketchy day before, or a couple days ago. In fact, actually, that stop level was down lower. It was right about there 2 days ago, but it was stop on close. I'm not going to, when something pulls back that much, that fast, I'm not going to stop out of that. I'm going to wait for a bounce and then see how it reacts to that bounce. And you can see that reacted really positively. NVIDIA, very similar play, of course, because it's also semiconductor. And I didn't play this one, but I know a lot of people did, and they would have done well to play this. But again, you've got to be kind of, if you didn't take some as this started pulling back today, you might want to consider taking some profit off, especially if this continues to, come down tomorrow. But, we've got support areas. We've got this nice trend line here. We've got the 10-day moving average is rising quite quickly here, and the 21, behind that. A little bit of a consolidation here that would act as support. The high of this breakout day, will probably act as support. So, all is not lost for this NVIDIA trade, but you've definitely got to start being cautious in this one. And finally, Apple. So this one I closed out of today. As it started pulling back here, it just looked like too much negativity in the market. This hadn't moved all that much anyway. It was kind of, it was being a slow mover. And I had, I had a fairly large position with, dollar value, a fairly nice profit. Percentage-wise, not great. I didn't want to give any more of that back. So I was up and around here at about 160.5 is where I got out. So there you have it. That is all of our all of the plays that that we've been looking at and playing. And like I said earlier, no new setups today. All the charts kind of got broken there in the last hour. So we'll have to. I think the best thing to do is just to wait and see a little bit. Give this market time to catch its breath and figure out what the heck happened there in the last hour, and really go back and maybe analyze the things that Powell said. See if this is an overreaction or not. I do kind of think this is a bit of an overreaction, but market doesn't care what I think. The market is telling us that this was a serious change of sentiment here in the market, and we've got to pay attention to that. Think about this and regroup a little bit. So yeah, that's all I've got for you for today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you again in the weekend video. Have a good night, everybody.